let's be real. The original Nintendo Switch was an absolute game changer, but its successor, the rumored Switch 2, is easily one of the most anticipated consoles in years. The rumors are flying everywhere, so today we're going to cut through all that noise and break down what we can actually expect. So, to really get a handle on what's coming, you gotta look at what's already here. The original Nintendo Switch has sold over 88 million units across the globe. That's not just a success, folks. That is a straight-up global phenomenon, and it sets an incredibly high bar for whatever Nintendo does next. And that right there is the million-dollar question, isn't it? When you've got one of the best-selling consoles of all time, what do you possibly do for an encore? How do you top a masterpiece like that? Well, if you really want to figure out where Nintendo's headed, you kind of have to look back at where they've been. The Switch 2 isn't just a new box with new hardware. It's the next chapter in a long, long legacy of innovation that has totally changed the rules of gaming time and time again. And when you look at this timeline, a pattern just jumps right out at you. From the NES back in '85, which basically standardized the controller we still use today, to the Switch in 2017, which completely merged home and portable gaming. See, Nintendo doesn't just tweak things, they completely flip the script. The Switch 2 isn't just about more power, it's about making that next big leap. All right, let's get into the good stuff. Let's talk about what's actually under the hood. And let's be crystal clear about something. This is not just a Switch Pro or some minor refresh. We are talking about a true, significant, next-generation hardware upgrade. And wow, the leap we're talking about here is just huge. The original Switch made portable HD gaming a reality, which was amazing. But the Switch 2 is aiming for something so much bigger. We're talking true next-gen performance and actual 4K visuals when it's docked. That's a massive, massive step up. So how are they going to pull this off? Well, it all starts with a much, much faster processor. That means way quicker load times and bigger, more complex game worlds to explore. You throw in more memory, and that means smoother performance, finally getting rid of those frustrating stutters in the middle of a big fight. And it's all capped off by a huge boost in graphics power. Now, one of the biggest buzzwords you're going to hear thrown around is ray tracing. So what is that? Well, to put it simply, it's a mind-blowing graphics trick that copies how light actually behaves in the real world. Think about the super realistic reflections you'd see in a puddle of water after a storm, or the way sunlight filters through the leaves in a forest. That's the kind of crazy immersion this tech brings to the table. So, you take all that new hardware, you mash it together, and what do you get? Something pretty stunning. Beautiful 4K resolution on your TV, all running at a buttery smooth 60 frames per second. And this isn't just about making things look pretty. This is the kind of raw performance that could finally bring those huge blockbuster third-party games over to a Nintendo console, the ones that had to skip the original Switch because it just couldn't handle them. So, okay, the TV experience is getting this massive boost, right? But what about the Switch part of the Switch? What does all this mean for gaming when you're on the go? Well, a huge focus seems to be on battery life, with reports suggesting we could get up to 10 hours of playtime. Now, for anyone who's had their original Switch die on them in the middle of a flight, you know this is a game changer. It means more power inside the console, but without sacrificing your playtime when you're away from the dock. But hey, it's not just about the battery. It sounds like the whole portable experience is getting a premium overhaul. We're expecting a more refined design that's still nice and compact, but with enhanced controls that just feel better in your hands. The goal is pretty clear. Make gaming on the go feel every bit as good as playing on a giant TV. So really, the whole point here is to deliver a seamless, top-tier gaming session no matter where you are, whether you're on your couch, on a plane, or just sitting in a park. Your games are finally unleashed from the TV, but this time with zero compromises. All right, so amazing hardware is one thing, but let's be honest, we all know a console is just a fancy brick without the games, right? And this is where Nintendo has always shined. And from the looks of it, the future is incredibly bright. The plan seems to be to launch with a massive library of games, combining brand new titles built from the ground up for the Switch 2, right alongside beloved classics that are ready to take full advantage of all that new hardware. So what's that library going to look like? I mean, you can practically bet the house on new adventures for icons like Mario and Zelda. But we're also expecting brand new franchises, a continued, strong focus on incredible indie games, and of course, those exclusive titles you can only get on a Nintendo platform. On top of all that, a big push for better online multiplayer and cloud support seems to be in the cards too. But this brings up a huge question. probably the question on the mind of every single person who owns a Switch right now. After spending years and probably hundreds of dollars building up your game library, does all of that just become useless with a new console? Well, you can breathe a sigh of relief, because the answer appears to be a big, resounding no. The plan is for full backward compatibility. You'll be able to play your old games, transfer your digital purchases, and manage your cloud saves so you can pick up right where you left off. This is a huge, huge win for players. So what this all boils down to is that the Switch 2 isn't just a new console. It's being built as this one single unified platform. It's designed to be the one device that can be the home for your entire Nintendo library, past, present, and future. Okay, we've covered the tech, the portability, and the games. But there's one last giant question mark hanging over all of this. How much is it gonna cost? Right now, all signs are pointing to a price range somewhere between $300 and $400. This would position it as a premium device for sure, but still a highly competitive one in the larger console market. And that price tag tells you a lot about Nintendo's whole strategy here. It positions the Switch 2 as a premium, top-tier piece of hardware, while still being accessible enough for that massive audience of both casual and hardcore gamers that made the original such a smash hit. It's a really careful balancing act. And at the end of the day, that's the real goal. The advanced tech, the focus on games, the backward compatibility, it's all serving one purpose: to once again completely change how we think about and play our games. And that brings us right back to where we started. The first Switch changed everything. It put true console-quality gaming in our hands anywhere we wanted to go. So, with this massive leap in power and a library that bridges generations, the big question remains: can Nintendo actually revolutionize gaming all over again? Only time will tell, but it's going to be fascinating to watch.